Good afternoon and welcome to the Agoura Hills City Council Budget Workshop of June 10th, 2026. At this time, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. If you wish to speak or submit a written comment, please complete a comment card for each agenda item and submit to the city clerk prior to the public comment portion of the item. I will now call this meeting to order. For the Pledge of Allegiance, I will defer to Kimberly. Could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, thank you. Everybody please stand, place your hand over your heart, and begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Kimberly. Thank you. I will now defer to the city clerk for roll call.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Councilmember Anderson. Here. Councilmember Anstead.
Here.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein-Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Wolf.
Here.
Mayor Wolf, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. For the approval of the agenda, will the makers of the motion and second to approve the agenda please state your name?
Councilmember Sylvester so moves.
Councilmember Anstead, second.
Now defer to the city clerk for roll call.
Councilmember Anderson. Aye. Councilmember Anstead.
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein-Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval 5-0.
Great, thank you. So for public comments section is reserved for public comments related to the budget workshop. If you have materials to distribute to the city council, please do not approach the dais. Instead, provide them to the city clerk for distribution on your behalf. Public testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and a speaker's time may not be transferred to another speaker. Written comments submitted by individuals may not be read aloud by another speaker. Individuals addressing the council shall refrain from disorderly conduct that disrupts or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. I will now defer to the city clerk for public comment.
Thank you. We did not receive any written correspondence, nor do we have any speaker cards.
Thank you so much. Moving us along to the discussion and action portion. We will now move to the discussion to review the proposed mid-cycle biennial fiscal year budget for 25-26 and 26-27. I will now defer to City Manager Nathan Hamburger for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council members. We are excited to be here this evening to present the proposed budget for the Council for the fiscal year 26-27. And I'm going to defer to our Finance Director, Diego Anbañez, to provide the presentation for us.
Thank you, City Manager. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. This afternoon, Finance staff will be presenting the mid-cycle biannual fiscal year 2025-26 and 2026-27, and focusing on the budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27. The agenda for today's meeting will focus on a review of the biannual budget and will address the goal of the mid-cycle process, changes in the macro outlook, what caused changes in budget increases, a review and discussion of management's approach to preserving revenue and ensuring successful operational outcome. Staff will discuss the updated forecast for fiscal year 26-27. Assistant City Manager Romero Adeva will lead the discussion on the community grants from the Finance Subcommittee. And staff will inform the City Council of the current reserve balance. And finally, it's never too early to start planning the next budget cycle. Staff will highlight some of the strategy intended for the fiscal year 27-28 and 28-29. The goal of the mid-cycle allows the City Council, staff, and residents to check in on the financial health of the city. It assists staff to evaluate department operational goals, contracts, and project updates. It allows staff to reallocate funds if necessary to operations that can be postponed or have been moved along the priority list. It allows for updated forecasts, budget adjustments, and other requests that could have arisen during the current fiscal year. It helps with transparency and also allows for no financial surprises. As a reminder, the biannual budget is a sustainability and resilient effort budget focused on operations, long-term financial stability, and ability to withstand any unexpected challenges. The budget helps staff with long-term sustainability goals, increases resilience against risks, helps staff prepare for emergencies, and reviews projects and infrastructure to maintain stability over time. Staff has kept this theme for the second year and monitored the assumptions that went into creating the budget. As a reference, last year we were speaking about the price of eggs. This year, the price of gasoline has affected consumer behavior and immediate economic outlook. The approach the staff took to update budget forecasts and assumptions was a review of priorities, revenue outlook, expenditure framework, always coming back to strategic goals and long-term planning. And this year, staff was able to balance the budget due to salary savings, as some positions will remain vacant this year. Staffs have announced their retirement. This current slide indicates the adopted and proposed revenues from last year. Please note that staff is not allowed to make any adjustments for the fiscal year 25-26 fiscal year. That was during mid-year. I do want to draw to your attention to the adopted budget numbers. We had to address changes in taxes, charges for services, and investment income. As you can see, we adopted proposed taxes of $17 million, charges for services of $1.4 million, and investment income at $1.125. For the updated proposed year, we have to reduce our taxes and assessments to $16.5 million. Charges for services went down to $882, and we increased investment income to $1.3, leading to an overall revenue income stream of $19.7 million for the upcoming year. This slide here gives you an update of some of the revenue forecasts that were adjusted. Sales and use tax were adopted at $4.7 million, and it's updated now to $4.4 million with a reduction of 7.1%. This has to do with consumer behavior affecting inflation, economic outlook, and just the consumer behavior that has been unreliable or unpredictable in the last couple of months. Building permits was adopted at $500,000. It's been reduced to $450,000. Planning fees were adopted at $383 and were reduced to $180,000. That's a 53% decrease. Building plan checks were adopted at $500,000 and have been reduced to $375,000. All of these are based just on planning, recognition of projects, and just when we actually expect them to happen. The other thing that staff has did this particular year was the loan payment from the RDA is due to expire in 2032. And we're taking this year to do better reporting since that's the income stream that we use to pay for our city loans. The overall revenue decrease for the year proposed for 26-27 is 8.3%. In order to highlight some of the increase in expenditures, we took into account an increase of 2.3% for public safety, which is our sheriff's contract. Legal services increased by 3.1%, which is a CPI annual increase. The COLA that was adopted and approved by City Council last year of 3.2% is included in this year's budget. It also takes into account the employee contribution of 5.5% for Classic members and 7.75% for PEPRA members. This year, we also will increase a $16,500 increase for Ordinance 26-484. And we looked at department operations in order on a trend analysis to see where they were at mid-year and see where we could either schedule, move, or see a contract analysis to better see what our expenditure trend line was going to look for at this particular time of the year. What we ended up with was some decreases in our departments. In communications, for example, there's a decrease of 1.6% based on contract management. In non-departmental, there's a decrease of 12.2%. That's based on the salary savings that we anticipate to receive throughout the year of $245,000. Automated services saw a decrease of 21%. That's due to contract management and a project update. Emergency services shows a big decrease of 69%. That is due to the City Council goal from last year that was completed in 25-26, and nothing has been budgeted for the 26-27 year. Community development also saw a decrease of 2.37%, and that's due to contract management. As you can see, our overall expenditure decrease of 8.3 ties into our overall decrease of revenues. This graph here serves as a reminder of what was adopted last year in terms of estimated revenue and expected estimate expenditures. As you can see, our revenue was 21.5, expenditures was 21.5. We adopted it at a surplus of 1,872. During this year's budget, we were able to in every strategy that we took down our revenue to 19.7, our expenditures also to 19.7, and we have a slight increase of our surplus to 7,215. Before I proceed with the presentation, I just want to highlight to council that this is just a review of the general fund. We do have special funds that I will continue the presentation with. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. But at this point, I am going to give the presentation to the Assistant City Manager, Romero Deva, to go over the community grants that were proposed during the Finance Subcommittee.
All right, thanks so much, Mr. Ibanez, and good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Council members. So I'm going to talk to the community grants part of the presentation. On June 1st, which was last Monday, we had a meeting of the Finance Committee, which includes Mayor Wolf and Councilmember Sylvester. For the general public, I would like to remind that, we actually really first start off by thanking the general public that we've got so many great organizations working for the city at a nonprofit status, and this year was no different. We're reminded of the great work they do by the amount of great requests that we got. So we got a total of $100,000 worth of requests, and the committee and also the council obviously has the unenviable position of trying to make that all fit into a $30,000 budget. And so, the Finance Committee met last Monday and went through the process of going through the list of applicants, and that's the matrix that you have in front of you. You'll see the recommendation of the committee for the council's consideration today and discussion, and the different areas in which they moved the money around in order to fall within or close to the 30,000. The one thing is, as we mentioned sort of every year, this is no different in the fact that we're dealing with very razor-thin margins, I would say, and so, it is a very difficult discussion that you all are going to need to have, but to try and just caution the council that to try and stay close to that $30,000. As you can see, I think it sits around $32,000 being recommended by the Finance Committee. But just depending on how where that number lands, we'll kind of, have staff be able to go back and possibly have to get further direction from the council in terms of where else we may need to take money if we go too much over the 30,000. So with that said, what I'd like to do is pass the presentation back over to Mayor Wolf and to begin the discussion.
Great, thank you. So, as was articulated, it was an unenviable task to go from $100,000 worth of requests to $30,000 that we had available. Big credit to Council Member Sylvester. I'm going to turn it over to her in 1 minute, but I do want to acknowledge some of them, how we went through the first round. Actually, Councilmember Sylvester, I'm going to turn it to you. Will you explain the methodology you used regarding the schools? And that was our starting spot, and then we worked backwards on that.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you. So based off what we've done for the last couple of years, we held for the same amount for each elementary school. We boosted it up more for the middle school because that has more pupils, and again for the high school. And we did actually cut back this year on just the library for the whole district, just because we had to, we were trying to get down to 30,000, and obviously we did not achieve that because we're at just over 32,000. Then the new applicants we did not fund because we thought we've made a commitment to the previous years to other organizations, and we're not in a position to take on any new at that time, except of course what I did in Agoura High School football because they were a new club, so we just reallocated the funding to the high school and gave everybody a little bit less so that we could include something for the football team as well. But the overall amount of the high school remained constant. So you will see, like last year, we gave, for example, the dance team in Agoura, we gave 1,000. This year we gave 500. So we gave 500 to the dance, to football, and to the Music Boosters program, and we gave just 300 to the Kiwanis Club. So that the overall amount remained the same, just about, maybe a little bit more. But we're trying to give something to everybody. And I think part of the focus, too, was on the organizations that are directly in our community, as opposed to the ones that are in neighboring communities. For example, this year we did not allocate anything to New West Symphony. They are in Thousand Oaks, and I know they get a lot of support from those cities. So we wanted to focus our support on programs that are in our cities. And I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. And again, this is flexible. We would like input from the rest of you too, to see if there's something that you feel that we missed or underfunded.
Thank you, Councilmember Sylvester, so much for helping to lead that effort. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the council to see if there's any things that immediately stick out to any of the council members, and start with that. So I'm looking right to left. I made eye contact with Mayor Pro Tem first, then Councilmember Anderson,
It's all
and
about
then
the eye contact with you.
yes.
I have one question for Mr. Ibanez, and then I have a question about the community outreach grant program. Mr. Ibanez, can you tell me again the decrease in emergency services? That's a large decrease. Is that because last year we had upped it so much because of the Palisades and Kenneth fire? Am I understanding that right?
Last year, that was a city council goal for home hardening, which was
Okay.
council appropriated a $50,000 appropriation.
Oh, okay.
And then this year, it usually gets funded for about $500. So it went from 55,000 to 500. So that's the big decrease there. It was a city council goal from last year that we did
Okay.
not carry over to 26, 27.
And then we're kind of in a way redirecting that to some of these community grant programs with the Fire Safe Council and the two Fire Safe Councils, right? So it's not like we're just abandoning our.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, can I just add that,
Please.
the bulk of that money, and we have Peter here who can corroborate that, went to the free grill, for
Right.
covering your events.
Right. Okay.
And so we're having to cut back on that program.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I can interrupt, and City
Yes.
Manager, I just want to highlight something to the council. The 30,000 the community grant currently sits at 30,000 within the appropriated budget. Any changes would reduce the 7215. So even though we're over at 2,000 right now, that has not been incorporated into the surplus.
That has not.
Has not. So
Okay.
if council accepts the community grants as they are now, that surplus would be reduced by 2,000. Just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you. That helps. Okay. And then my next question is about the community grant programs. And you may not know this, Mr. Ibanez, but maybe Mr. Adeva does. How many years have we been hovering at this $30,000 goal? And of course, I ask that because it doesn't go very far these days as time marches on.
If I can answer that, somewhat of that, I've been here 3 years, Mayor Pro Tem, and those 3 years have been 30,000 for me. I know that last year you mentioned that was probably not the case, but in my tenure, it's only been
Okay.
30,000.
Okay. And have we raised that over the years, or has it just kind of always hovered? I can't remember. I mean, I was on this committee, but
I could address, so as long as I've been here, it's hovered somewhere between 30 and 40,000 is
Okay.
about the height of it, I believe.
Okay. Okay, so those are my questions, but I also have thoughts.
Yeah,
So
let's
do
go
you want me
through it.
to?
Yeah, I think
okay.
that'd be great if maybe we'll start with you, then we'll go to Councilmember Anderson, Councilmember Anstead, and
Okay.
then Councilmember Sylvester.
I do not envy you because I've been on this committee and it is very hard to, to mete out these dollars that go to such amazing groups and children and not, it's a really, really hard and often subjective process. So I agree with the two new applications that, it's really tough to be able to loop them in right now. But I do think that we should offer New West Symphony something. I think it's really hard to go from 1,000 to nothing. And I know they get support from other communities, but I would say the arts community in general is just being hit so hard right now, particularly in cuts from the federal government. So, I'm fine with all of these numbers, but I would like to see something with New West Symphony. I'd love to see 1,000, but if that doesn't just to keep them going, because I know they probably count on it. And just would like to know what the other council members think about that. But other than that, I think, it's in the right direction, and we're trying to help out the schools and some of these groups, but in particular, I'm very happy to see that some of the emergency services money is being flowed into these fire safe councils, which is such a huge priority for our city. So other than that comment, I just want to say thank you for your work on this, and I'm good to go.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. Thank you. So what I think we'll do right now is let's put an asterisk next to New West Symphony, and then go through the rest and then see where we land. And so if we could put a star there and then keep moving on.
So, Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez, thank you for the question about the emergency services. That was my only question too, seeing that, because given how much of a priority emergency is here in Agoura Hills, that's a really big percentage. But what I'm hearing you say is the percentage overall in terms of our budget is actually misleading, that it was $50,000 and that we're not doing that we don't need it for this fiscal year. And Peter, thank you for all of your hard work and helping. I heard that there are more events being ordered. I think that's phenomenal. It's one of the most important things we can do. And related, but in some ways unrelated, I just want to say that is a huge priority. I'm so glad we adopted the evacuation analysis. I'm so glad we've got that prevention plan, that wildfire prevention plan in place. And for anybody listening, and just to say this out loud, our next step then is to seek grant dollars, because Lord knows that we don't have money in our budget to do all we need to do for Agoura Hills, but we have set ourselves up well, so that is absolutely a priority. I literally put little happy faces on the fire safe councils, both the Agoura Hills one and the Santa Monica Mountain Fire Safe Council. I was delighted to see the Topanga Fiddle Fest still getting at least a little bit of money, and Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez, I too was sad when I saw nothing for New West Symphony, and so recognizing that we're already over, if there was something that we could give to them, I would support that.
Okay, so we'll add another asterisk and put Council Member Anderson there. And then I think what we'll do after we hear from Council Member Anstead is see if we want to take away from somewhere or take away from our proposed budget, which is something, I'm open to doing as well. I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there anything else? Okay, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Councilmember Anstead?
I think, I'm a little hesitant on some of the groups that we've supported in the past that we've lowered our amounts on it just because of the expectations of those groups. But I understand we're in a tight budget situation, so I'm a little bit more flexible. One of the things that I do look out for is kind of our veterans group, Americans Supporting Americans, which gives care packages to the troops overseas. And we were given 1,000 and we've cut it in half to 500. I'm actually, because I know that they've got some funding, I'm actually maybe okay with that as long as I want some expectation, or at least I know we've already talked about it in the past, that this year we're going to try to do some type of a veterans memorial or something here in Agoura. And so if we use some of that money that we typically would give to them for that memorial, I think that would be fine with the cut that we're placing on it. But I just, again, some of the groups I know we're kind of cutting, and it's not fun to do that with the groups. But I know we're trying to expand at the same time, so that's what you have to do in order to kind of keep the amount the same. So, but those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Council Member. And just for clarity, do you want to put a star next to that and maybe explore, once everyone goes through their comments, of adding more to that, or are you comfortable where it's at? Because it's your call of where you want to stand on that.
Yeah, if we were able to keep it the same, I would appreciate it. I feel like that it's something that we need to support. Right now, our troops are at war, so that's something that we need to think about.
Okay, so we will add a star to that one too, and keep going through. Thank you.
Okay.
And Councilmember Sylvester, I know you laid it out, but love to hear what.
No, I think you've got all my thoughts already here. So it's just a question of, are we going to reduce our surplus to, 'cause we've already reduced it, so it's down to 5,000, just under $200. So do we want to take it down more, and what would we add in? If we're going to add in more, how much would we add to New West, and how much would we? So we're talking about bringing up Americans, supporting Americans to 1,000?
Yeah, just $500.
Okay, and then what are we talking about for New West? 500?
I mean, I'd like to see 1,000, just because that's what we gave them last year.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so that's 1,500
They,
more.
a lot of that goes to children's programs that don't apply to our schools. So I just want you to be aware of that.
Okay, I know.
Yeah, okay. So it's not supporting our residents at all.
How would,
Well, I disagree with that, but
how would we feel about adding 250 to Americans Supporting Americans and making that 750, and then making a 750 to New West Symphony as well? And so that would be adding, let me do a little arithmetic, $1,000 to,
I can give you an update.
yeah, please.
So if we take the proposed community grants, we are at 7,215 minus the 2,050, takes us to a balance of 5,165. Adding another 1,000, taking that, 5,165. Takes us to 4,165 in surplus.
Will you say that number one more time? 4,165?
Yes, please.
Okay. So would the council feel comfortable with that? And I just want to reiterate the 750 for Americans Supporting Americans, raising it 250, and then adding the 750 to New West Symphony. Is that something where I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads? You're okay? All right. So with that, I think we are settled. Is there anything else while we have, this is still open?
yeah, and I would just say that, not at this time, but when next time this council is looking at a 2-year budget, I know it's tough times, and I know it's not our primary job to fund nonprofits, but I think there's some inflation that going on in tough times in some of these, with these programs. So just encourage the council at the next full budget goal-setting session to maybe consider raising the overall amount that we might look at. That's it.
I think that's good. I just want to thank Councilmember Sylvester again. It was really hard we had 10 nonprofits show up, and each one is asking for funding, and, to have people there and say, sorry, we're not going to fund to what you wanted was difficult, but Mayor Sylvester and I did it, and she really helped lead that conversation, so thank you for your work on that. Not hearing anything else on this, we're going to move it back along. So I think I turn it back over to Diego.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned, we just discussed the general fund. We also have special funds that the city currently has 28 special funds. They range from gas tax, traffic safety, Prop A, capital projects, Measure R and Measure M. And this year, we're adding the Council of Governments fiber optic project to our special funds. That is solely dedicated to that project. A special fund cannot be used for anything elsewhere unless just for the indicated project. As always, we try to unburden the general fund by putting salaries and projects that are eligible to be funded by the guidelines of the special fund. So we'll be looking to do that again in the upcoming year. The special fund budget for the CIP for 26-27 is $19,131,814, and staff will continue to research and seek grant opportunities for project funding. The reserves. We are very careful with reserves. We try to kind of keep that ever since it's been growing. We tried to build our budget without touching any of reserves. We are still in the 13 million mark, and we are looking for ways to kind of capitalize or how to use this. Also note that we use our reserves to fund some of our projects, so it's not readily liquid, because we use that to fund, and then we get reimbursed through grants and whatnot to make that whole. Just want to present that to the council, but we're still on track. We haven't dipped in any of our reserves or touched it in this year or in the upcoming year. The long-term view for the 27, 28, and 28, 29 budget cycle. Like I said, it's never too early. So finance will be partnering with a money manager on ways to increase investment income through some of the resources, some of the funds that we have sitting in LAIF and looking at our investment policy. We are in the middle of developing a 5-year forecast model, just as I mentioned earlier, with our RDA payment going away in about 6 years, and how we do that and handle that issue going forward. I just reviewed our strong reserves balance. We tend and want to keep that very, very strong. Again, this is just a conversation for the future about possible revenue diversification, looking at some tax measures, some lighting districts. A discussion just to have, nothing to implement at this moment, but it's just sort of something that's out there that we'll consider. Capital and asset management, keeping in touch of doing some maintenance before any of our capital or assets fail that we have to kind of replace immediately. And as always, something that the city does very well is grant management, where we apply and usually almost always get our grants. That concludes staff's presentation for the budget. Happy to open it for any questions, feedback, or direction at this point.
Great, thank you so much. Do any council members have comments, questions, or feedback? Councilmember Anderson?
Just gratitude. Thank you for being such an on top of it. Finance director for being such an on top of it. City. I did knock on something when you said we get almost every grant we apply for, and I recognize how proactive we are and how much work that is, how much this staff goes above and beyond to help us be the city that we want to be. So thank you.
Any questions or comments on the right side? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just I just want to agree with my fellow council member with the gratitude of not only managing this complicated set of numbers that aren't dry. These numbers are have real implications for people and for safety and for all of the things that make our city tick. So gratitude for sure. I also just want to say that I appreciated in the report some of the forward-looking goals in terms of some of the bigger events happening in our region, like the World Cup, the Olympics, and also just the wildlife crossing. I think we're going to be having some tourism and some interest when the bridge is open. So, I appreciated in the report the forward thinking of that. And again, I know we'll dive deeper into that when we have a full budget session. But the other thing I did want to say, again, like my colleague to the left, is our reliance on grants. And, I know we work very hard to lobby not only in Sacramento, but in Washington, D.C. as well in these really difficult times. And we reap a lot of benefits from that. And so I just want to recognize that we get projects earmarked from our local elected officials, and we got something from Julia Brownlee not that long ago, and our efforts pay off. So I just want to highlight that there's a lot of proactive work that goes into this, and just want to thank the whole team.
Councilmember Sylvester?
And I would just like to thank all the department heads for finding cuts, because I know that's painful. So I appreciate you looking really carefully at where you can maybe delay or, put off to a later time. I know what you've done. So thank you very much for making it work for us.
And building off what Mayor Pro Tem said about local grants, it was brought to my attention that the LA County Supervisors Grant Program has extended their deadline till June 30th. So maybe for some of the folks who are on here, when we give the good news, we can also let them know that application is open. And I believe they're $15,000 grants, and they're competitive, but I know local organizations have made use of that, so maybe we can include that when we reach out to them. That information was sent by her field representative yesterday, so I could share that. And with that, there's no formal action, but we do need a maker to make a motion in a second to please state your name.
Councilmember Sylvester will make that motion.
City Council Member Chris Anstead, second.
I will now defer to the city clerk for roll call.
You know what,
Oh.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to be the dumb one on the diet. What are we moving?
I don't know.
You
Yeah,
actually
it's the
don't
same
need a
question.
formal action here. The direction's been provided to staff, and so now we will just adjust the minor things to the budget. We'll be back for potential adoption at your next meeting, which is the 24th.
Okay, so perhaps we're moving to applaud the city staff for being phenomenal.
Well, also, we've increased the grant
Yeah.
funding.
That's,
And we've
oh, okay.
reduced, and
just-
reduced the
Okay,
surplus.
so okay, so that makes sense to me. So we are then, you've moved to accept the new grant amounts. And
Yes.
the revised, okay, now I know what I'm voting on.
Okay.
Will the maker of the motion... I will now defer to the city clerk for a roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Anstead.
Aye.
Councilmember Sylvester.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf.
Aye.
Mayor Wolf, you have approval 5-0.
Great, thank you. Are there any comments from staff?
I just want to say thank you, council. It's definitely, budget is also always very stressful, but with city council input, city manager guidance, and peer collaboration, we're able to kind of do this. So thank you for this afternoon.
I could also just echo that, and I do want to thank all of our staff who spend a ton of time behind the scenes on this and attend these meetings and go through all these tough discussions with Diego and I appreciate everybody's willingness to just find solutions, and the council support staff in doing that. So.
Great, thank you. Any further comments from council? Seeing or hearing none. We'll now move to adjournment. This concludes our budget workshop. The regular city council meeting will begin at 6 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.